Welcome to Fitbody Lifestyle, the show where we dive deep into the world of fitness, health, business, relationships, and the art of living a balanced life. I'm Jamie.
And I'm Greg, and we're here to give you the benefit of our experiences in the fitness and bodybuilding industry, the corporate world, running a business, personal development, and building healthy relationships.
Whether you're sweating it out in the gym, hustling in your business, or seeking balance in your everyday life, you're in the right place.
So lace up those sneakers and grab that water bottle, and let's get ready to transform our minds, our bodies, and our lives. Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Fitbody Lifestyle, and we are here with a very special guest, Nicole Desmond. Hi, Nicole.
Hi. Happy to be here.
And obviously my partner in crime here. And first of all, Nicole, go ahead and introduce yourself again.
Yes. Hi, I'm Nicole Desmond. I'm a Fitbody Fusion Coach, and I'm excited to be here.
We're excited to have you here. And today's topic is going to be very exciting.
Oh.
Yes.
A doozy.
And a very good topic, which is learning to lose.
Yes.
Before we get to that, what's your check-in word?
I'm going to say belonging.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, I like that. Okay. Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, I think we will get more into that as we talk about this topic.
Yeah.
So, first of all, I think maybe before I've said first of all like a few times, so it's no longer a first of all. But
third of all.
go ahead and kind of just give people a little bit of the thumbnail sketch of who Nicole Desmond is.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm 31. I currently live in Colorado, which I love. I have been competing since 2017, and I am a coach as well as a full-time corporate girly, if you will. So I work two jobs essentially. And yeah, I think my short bio that I like to say is I'm an adventurer bodybuilder coach.
And you're an adventurer, not just externally, but internally, which we kind of talked a little bit about before. So
yes.
We love that about you.
Yeah.
You want to tee this topic up?
Yeah. So, yeah.
Or did I throw that to you? Yeah.
There you go.
All right. Well, okay, I'll do it.
There you go. Hot potato.
All right. So within the sport of bodybuilding, and I've kind of shared this before, is my philosophy of bodybuilding is a sport of failure. And so being able to, and part of that is failure in the gym, going to failure, failing on your macros, learning to get better at that. It's a sport of failure and learning. And one of the biggest challenges that comes with failure is learning to deal with that.
Yes.
It's a little bit different in having a bad workout and getting on stage and not placing or not getting your pro card. And so why don't you give people a little context for your experience on this topic?
Yeah, absolutely. So I found bodybuilding, at least competitively, because I was lifting and training like a bodybuilder for a few years before I started actively competing. In 2017, I did my first show with a coach that wasn't on Fitbody Fusion, and I placed second at my first ever NPC show. It was kind of a bigger show, and I placed second to the girl who won the overall. And so I had this thought like, oh, I could be really good at this. And I had been looking for a competitive outlet for years. I was an athlete growing up. I played basketball, I played volleyball, I tried soccer at some point, it did all the things. And I was really looking for a way to channel that competitive nature. And so realizing, I could be really good at this, I kind of threw myself into it. And so I nationally qualified that first show, but then I wanted to go do another show. And so I competed again, I think a month and a half later, and I ended up winning my open class, my novice class, and the novice overall. And so that's like a very big high. You come into a sport, you're like deer in the headlights. I don't even know what this means. I went up for the overall. I think it was like 1 a.m. And wow. It was very tiring. It was a show in Chicago. And I didn't really even know what it meant. And I was just so excited and, over the moon. And I then decided to go to nationals that very first year. So my third show ever was nationals in Miami, and I placed dead last. And so I went into that show just like thinking, I didn't think I was going to get my pro card. I just really didn't know what to expect. And so after that show, it kind of was a reality check, and I just had this moment of, okay, I want to be successful in this. I want to, learn the ins and outs. I want to work with someone who understands the sport. And I actually was already following Jamie on social media at the time. And I think Shelby and Jesse, I think. And so I was like, oh, these women seem to know the sport and what's going on. And so I filled out an athlete application and I did a consult with Jessie Palmer, and she was my coach then from, I think, like February 2018 for like the next 5 years. And I then hit the national stage that next year, and I did 5 national shows and
five
national shows that next year. So I think my goal with going into that was just giving it my all, working with a new coach, understanding kind of this new way and new approach, because the coach I had previously, it was a stereotypical kind of, I don't want to say bad coach experience, but just not the type of coaching that we do here on the team. And so I threw myself into that. I would go to these national shows and I would be ecstatic with like, I placed top 10, I placed this. And I remember finishing out the year at that same national show in Miami that I had done the year before, saying, I just want to get first call outs. And I did. And I think I placed like 6th or something. And I was so excited. And so then that following year, I can't remember if I think I competed again that following year. And I was again hitting the national stage. I want to say I did 4 shows, maybe. I can't remember. It's all like muddied together now. But that year it became about getting my pro card. And I kind of lost the fun of it, the fun of the process, the fun of, why I compete in general. And it was because it was a hobby. It was something I did that I really enjoyed. And I was getting super down on myself for not winning, essentially. I would come within I would get first call outs, but then I, wouldn't get my pro card. And then I won my class at Olympia, but then you have to be top 5 overall. So there's that cognitive dissonance of I won, but I didn't win because I didn't get my pro card. And going through that year, I really had to reframe it for myself. For the last show, I did Miami Nationals again. That became my show to end the season with, even though it was a really long stretch between the start of the season and that. I remember calling Jessie and saying, I don't know if I want to do this. I'm feeling burnt out. I don't even I'm not having fun. I don't want to do it. And she had me do a pros and cons list of what are the pros of going and the cons of going, and then what are the pros of starting an off season and cons of it. And really, there's none over here. So I'll just stick to the ones of going to the show. And the first one I wrote at the top was, the pro was I get to spend time with some of my best friends and have a fun weekend. And that instantly clicked it into place for me of reminding me that I do this because I want to have fun. And I was able to go back into that show with having this mindset of, you're just here to have fun. And if you place, that's a plus, but give it your all and go to have fun. And that's all you can do. And so I really reframed it for myself that season. And then, following those next few seasons, that was 2019, 2020 COVID hit. I took a whole year off to build because I hadn't really yet with a coach, taking a full off season. And then I competed again in 2021. Once again, coming within a couple placings of my pro card every single time. And that seems to be the trend. So to this day, I've done 18 total competitions, 13 of which are national shows. And I would say 90% of those national shows, I have placed top 5 and come very, very close to getting that ultimate goal, which for me right now is my pro card. So lots of quote unquote losing, if you will, which it's not losing to me, but it's not getting what I'm technically going there for.
Well, this is I think a challenge for all of us, and it's fun listening to your journey because I feel like it mirrors a lot of my journey, especially, I talk a lot about those first few shows and doing really well at the local level and getting to the national stage. And I'm like, hey guys, it's me over here. You forgot me. I'm the very, very last of the last calls. But, and that resilience that's required to be able to kind of pick yourself back up and then remind yourself a little bit more about your why is what it sounds like.
Yeah, it definitely happened for me in 2019, like finding that why. And I think it's shifted a little bit in the last few years, because having it now take me 7 years plus to kind of, I mean, I still don't have my pro card. I'm still going for it. So it's a, a ... kind of thing. I think my why has shifted a bit to proving to myself that I can achieve what I want as long as I don't give up. And so that has kind of morphed a little bit, but it's also still to me about, I love this process. I was training like a bodybuilder before I was a competitive bodybuilder. I was, eating this way and, living this lifestyle before I even fell into competing in a way. And so it's something that I just really enjoy doing. And the competitive aspect makes me able to channel that, athlete nature that I have in myself towards a goal for that, set period of time. But ultimately, it's about proving to myself that I can keep those promises to myself, and then that I'll achieve my dreams, essentially, if you will, like if I keep at it. Like it's not if, but it just when.
I mean, it's that falling in love with the process.
Yes.
And we talk about this all the time, is that if you don't love the process and you're only married to the outcome, you're not going to have longevity. And that's what you have done, is that you love the process. You love the bodybuilding. And it's so funny how easy it is. Like when you start focusing a little bit more on the placings and the this and the that it's easy to lose sight, right?
It is so easy to lose sight of it. And I just remember it so vividly happening in 2019. Like I went into that week where I was competing at Amateur Olympia, and I did not care. I was like, I don't even care what happens. And I hated that feeling. Like I had worked so hard. I was competing there. Jessie was also competing at Olympia that year. So it was really cool because I got to be there with, she's one of my best friends and my coach. And I just was like wanting it to be over. And that felt so misaligned with how I actually feel about the sport and competing. And so to have that and then to win and then like win my class and then, but not get my pro card, it kind of was a weird, like just mental game for me where I just felt like I needed a break, essentially. Like I was pushing myself too hard with these expectations I had set on myself that nobody else really cared about except for me. Like everyone just wanted to see me succeed and have fun, but succeeding doesn't have to mean winning necessarily. So I recognizing that and then consistently reminding myself that I do this because I choose to and because it's fun, not because I have to and because I need to place, is really important.
I was just thinking about, the words that we use and just the viewpoint of this. And again, you and I are big fans of James Clear and Atomic Habits. And one of the things that he says is goals are for people who are interested in winning once. Systems are for people who are interested in winning repeatedly.
Yes.
And so I think you could look at that and say, well, Nicole, you haven't won, but I don't look at it that way. The way I look at it is that first of all, perspective is always very helpful. And how many athletes would kill to be in first call-outs or top 5 in a national show. And you've done that repeatedly. And part of the reason you've done that repeatedly is because you have built a successful system.
Yeah.
You are a fantastic coach, one of the best coaches. And you don't need IFBB behind your name to make you a good coach.
No.
And so and all this, the 18 shows, the 13 national shows, that is the product of a system that you have not just built, but that you're building, because you're consistently evolving that process and the approach for yourself, but also now as you translate that to the people that you coach.
Exactly.
So, you're not a winner, you're something better. You're a champion and you are, Nicole, because perseverance is a championship mentality. Winning is easy. And we know this as coaches is that when your athlete wins, man, it's easy. Hey, they won. Where the real coaching begins is when the athlete does not. And the thing, I've been with you during some of these disappointments, right?
Yes.
Especially when you win your class. I will never forget being there. And the way that you handled that, the grace, the depth, the professionalism, and it wasn't that you weren't hurt, and I knew that you were, and I knew that it was disappointing, but the way that you carried yourself, the way that you responded was championship. That was the champion mentality that you possess. And so, I don't know that you thought about, hey, this is the journey I want to take. I can speak for Jamie and tell you that she took a similar journey, and it was not the journey that she wanted to take, but it was the journey that produced this amazing person, this amazing champion that is sitting here with us on this couch.
Yeah, I think about it a lot, and know if I could, pick a card between like get my pro card 5 years ago or get it, I don't know when, I probably would have picked that. But I think what it has taught me over the last 7 years is a lot of perseverance, a lot of resilience, a lot of how to handle disappointment, and then take that and use it to fuel me to want to be better. And I think we talked about this a lot previously, like comparison is a thief of joy. And I'm never going up there comparing myself to the other girls or, people online or whatever that is. I'm comparing myself to the last physique I brought to stage and what I was able to bring. And something this past prep that I did in 2023, I'm like, what year is it? In 2023, I heard something before I started prep that really resonated with me and helped fuel me to really just mentally lock into prep. And it had to kind of do with self-sabotage. And essentially it said, if you knew you would get the outcome you wanted, if you did everything perfectly, would you? And it was this huge light bulb for me that, in the past, whatever those self-sabotage behaviors I had done, I was continuously showing up to these national shows, and I never thought it would be my time or that I was the one it was going to be. So to me, during the process, it didn't quite matter what I was doing. And so this past prep, I mentally locked in harder than I ever have before. And no, I may not have gotten my pro card, but that doesn't mean I didn't get the outcome I wanted, because I had the best physique I've ever brought to stage. And it might not have been the best that day, but that's okay. And I think that's a hard thing for people to grapple with too, is like, yes, I brought my absolutely best and it just wasn't the best of the day, and that's fine. But never once have I looked at who won and thought she didn't deserve it. Like, she absolutely did. She deserved that placing. I need to, I can be disappointed still, but I know that she deserved it, and I need to go get feedback on how I need to improve.
Well, I want to interject something. I know you have a question probably, but that is so important. And the athletes that I see after they get off stage, if they haven't won, and they start talking about the other people that competed against them, my God, man, it's like fingernails on the chalkboard for me, because it is just, and not because I'm not empathetic with it. It's just that you're looking at the wrong thing. Mm-hmm. You're looking at something you can't control. You can't control these other athletes. All you can control is you. Yeah. And if the judges preferred their physique to this day, then it's not a question of who deserves it, right? Because we all deserve it, right? We never get what we deserve. You get what the judges pick on that day. Yeah. There's a lot there that you just said that I kind of is firing off these things in my head. So when it comes to a placing, I've really tried to, for myself and for my clients, say a placing doesn't validate your hard work. It doesn't mean you didn't work hard if you didn't place top 5. You work just as hard as those people standing up there, maybe harder, and so that's something I really try to remind myself as well as my athletes. And it's hard because you are disappointed. Of course you go to win. Like, nobody gets on stage really to think like, yeah, I want to place 12th. Like, nobody is really going to a competition thinking that, but that's the reality of what happens sometimes. And it's really about just continuously showing up. I think there have been times in the past when I've been in a competition season and I've had to skip a national show, and then I see the girl who wins my class and I go, oh, I could have won probably if I showed up. And that's such a sinking feeling, but it wasn't my time, and that's okay. But I just have to keep showing up, because that day will come if I do.
And you can enjoy the process.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, it's really more about that too. And I have learned ways to kind of plan my season more so I can, not stretch it out for 8 months, which I've done in the past. Don't recommend. But yeah, enjoying the process is a big thing too. And I think having the time in between, shows to improve on whatever your feedback is important. And sometimes people only have like a week, which isn't enough time, but 3 to 4 weeks between a competition, if you're dialed in, you can make some pretty solid changes and maybe deliver on that feedback, and it could be your time. And I just keep telling myself that, really believing that I'm someone to contend with. I think for the first time this past season that I competed actively, there have been seasons in the past where I would look at girls and I would say, oh, she's going to get it. You can see a girl backstage and you just you can feel it in her energy. You can feel it in the way that she looks or whatever it is. You guys can kind of point to those people and say they're going to place well, or they're getting their pro card today. I've never looked at myself that way. Had that moment of oh crap, that girl's here. And this past season, I finally was looking at myself that way because I have taken 7 years to build and deliver on feedback. And I look at the physique I was bringing back in 2017, the physique I brought this past season, and it's wildly different. And I'm I absolutely I was not a pro level physique back then. So I understand now, hindsight's 2020, why I wasn't awarded my pro card. And now I'm starting to see I am competitive. I am that girl. And it's now just a matter of time and continuing to show up.
Yeah, one of the interesting things I've seen with, there are those people that they just genetically are gifted and they go in and it happens really quick. Mm-hmm. And the interesting thing is I do feel like there's a lot of growth that's missed out on. I mean, not to say that's not great. That's awesome. Not to take anything away from that. But, I had to work really hard and did every national show and all this kind of stuff. And I do, I can relate very much in learning to fall in love with the process more and learning to appreciate the journey and the relationships that you build along the way, and really learning how to handle disappointment.
Yeah.
And I feel like it's helped me in other aspects of my life handle disappointment. Do you feel like it's done that for you as well?
100%. I think when you get something really, I don't want to say easily, but quickly. So if you, go to your first national show and you get your pro card, you then go to the pro leagues and you're probably going to lose way more than you win. So I think learning how to be humble with that disappointment and, keep going, even if you feel like there's some voice in the back of your head going, it might not happen. I think that's really taught me a lot. And I've been able to apply that in a lot of different areas of my life and to also be coachable. I put my full trust in my coaches always, and I always know that they've got me, almost to the extent of Shelby this past season. I'm well, we got 2 weeks and I've got, 7 pounds to lose. You got it. And she's like, what? I'm you got this. I'll do what you tell me and we're good. I put my trust into a fault because, they've earned my trust. But, I think it's taught me how to really handle disappointment in a way that works for me. And yes, it's okay to take a minute. And I've done this backstage before. I've gotten off stage and I'm really upset. And I have a girl try to walk up to me to talk to me. And I'm sorry, I just need a minute. I just need a minute. And I, sit to myself and then, I take, whatever, 5-10 minutes and I kind of collect myself and I handle that disappointment and understand it wasn't my time. It was whoever, got at that time's time, and my time will come. I just have to keep going. And, then I get up and I go get my judges' feedback and it's pretty much always the same, but we're going to keep working on these glutes and we'll keep going. But yeah, I think it's taught me how to handle disappointment, not only in bodybuilding, but all areas of my life, almost to a fault where I had a new therapist once trying to kind of poke holes in it. She's like, it doesn't impact you more. It doesn't, do this. And I'm like, no, it's just a part of life. And it's going to happen. And I have to be able to adapt. And I feel the feeling, but I understand it's not permanent and it's going to pass and I'm going to be okay. And I'm going to then take that energy and that disappointment and have it fuel me to then grow and evolve and continue to push.
So you created the bridge there. Let's take it over into relationships, personal relationships, and the workplace.
Yeah.
Has it manifested there, that same kind of grit and that same kind of perseverance?
Absolutely. I can think specifically within the workplace, in my corporate career, I've been disappointed a lot when it comes to being in positions where I didn't feel valued or didn't feel like I was getting the raise I deserved or whatever that looks like. But I've learned to then keep pushing, keep bringing value, and eventually, hopefully, the right people will notice it. And this kind of manifested last summer for me with, I had a different opportunity and our vice president of sales basically said, nope, you're going to stay and we're going to give you exactly what what you want and what you deserve because we value you. And I think if you can continue to show up even in the face of disappointment, like it's just going to show not only about how much grit you have, but also about your character. So I think that's really important to me, is that I'm just a very hard worker. And so even if I don't feel like that work's being recognized, that doesn't mean I'm not going to work hard, because it doesn't come from external validation. It comes from intrinsic validation. So if I know I'm giving my all to something, that's what matters to me.
That's the growth mindset. That is the growth mindset at its core. And I often think about that, is that, it's not what is the Rocky Balboa thing. It's not how hard you hit, it's how hard you can get hit and get back up.
Yeah.
And I do think that applies in this face of disappointment, is that, there's a quote that was on a mural in Sacramento, where we used to live, and I drove by it every day. And at the time, this was 20 years ago, and I thought about it. It resonated with me, but I wasn't really quite sure why. But it was, in scarcity, we bear the teeth. And I've shared this with you before, and it just is the teeth come out when things are scarce. And so, hey, pro cards are scarce; they're not giving those away, right? So I think that it's interesting that how you can really demonstrate your character and the depth of your character in those moments, because winning is, I don't want to say winning's easy, because it's not. There's a lot of hard work that goes into that, but I do think that your character when you win is a lot easier to manage than your character when you don't.
Yeah, I agree, because there's a lot of joy that comes with winning. And, I have won quite a bit in bodybuilding, because I've, won an overall. I win first at amateur or regional level shows. So it is exciting and it feels really good. But what happens with winning, I think, is most people then don't really sit in the joy of it, because then they're focused on the next win.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So it's a very short kind of high. And I think when it comes to disappointment, it feels like that's going to be forever, but it's also short-lived. If you can then take that disappointment and make it almost as short as that high with winning, and then use that to fuel you, like it has the same effect. Their emotions, their feelings, they come and they pass. And I think that winning is reaffirming in a way, and everyone loves to win, but you're going to learn so much more from your losses than ever before. I say that all the time. I've learned so much more from all the losses in my life, whether that's bodybuilding or anything else, than I have from winning.
One of the things that you said that really resonated with me is the value piece, like that your value coming from the external versus the internal.
Yeah.
And I do think that is when we talk about the winning versus the, not winning. Point, exactly. At that point is like, when I've seen people have the hardest time getting past it, because like you said, of course, in the moment you've worked really hard. It's okay to take a moment and be disappointed. Like, we're human beings.
It's a normal feeling.
Right. But the people that have tied their value so closely to winning have an almost impossible time getting over the hurdle then, because they're looking at it as something wrong within them, which it isn't, and it wasn't.
Yeah. What's really interesting that I just thought about is that I have a client who just competed recently, and it was her second show ever. And her goal was to place better than she did previously, which was she needed to get first because she got second before. But her feedback was to come in fuller and softer. So we did that. And then she had some stress come into play that caused her to then kind of get a little more softer than we would have ideally liked. She still won her class. However, she did not feel proud of her performance because she didn't feel like she looked her best. So it was kind of an interesting way to handle disappointment in that regard, because although she won and had this external validation, she felt really disappointed in herself in the way that she handled the stress of, the day before and stuff that caused her to not be proud of herself. So it's almost the reverse effect. And it was really interesting as a coach to witness that and say, yes, I absolutely think that's what happened. I agree with you. Like, we need to figure out ways to mitigate stress the best we can. However, I still want you to be really proud of yourself. You achieved the goal you set out for yourself. You did get first, and the judges awarded you delivering on their feedback. And so that's also really important to remember. So it's kind of like the reverse of what we're talking about. But because she wasn't intrinsically proud of herself and her performance, she wasn't really tying anything to this like external achievement.
It's so interesting you say this, because I literally just had a call with somebody this past week who had just earned her pro card. And she, really felt exactly that way. She's like, I know that wasn't my best. Like, I just got lucky. It happened to be that class that I was in wasn't as strong. And so, you know what I mean? So she looks back on it and she's like, I know that wasn't, so it's so interesting, because I didn't even think about that till you said it, but it really does go both ways.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy to think about. And I've said this a lot too, I don't want to win my pro card or a class because it was an easy win. I want to be put up there against a tough class and be the best of the day and beat some tough girls like who really are bringing it. And so I think that's also another part of it, is there's a competitive nature in me that wants to win, but I also want to win because I deserve it, and because I am bringing the most, competitive physique of the day, versus just like, well, she just looked the best that day, like everyone else didn't really look that good, or whatever that is. So I kind of can relate to her struggle of, it's exciting, but to then feel that disappointment of like, well, I don't really feel like I got it the way I wanted it.
Well, and it ties to this, is that the bodybuilding should be a you versus you sport.
Exactly.
And when you can tap into that center, you're going to have a much more successful career or experience in bodybuilding. And I think that, something that you said that just really, I can't get it out of my mind, and don't want to get it out of my mind, is that how many people set goals around placing or winning. And I get it. Look, you're not stepping on stage to lose. And so that's fine goal, but how much of that goal you don't control, because you don't control the other competitors, you don't control the judges, versus if you goal set around, I want to put on a better package this show than I did the last show, man, that's achievable. That's within your ability to achieve. And that creates that experience that regardless of the placings, hey, look, I put a better package on stage. I can't control this other stuff, but I can control and did control that. I'm really proud of myself. And what you just gave people, and if they weren't paying attention, I really want them to pay attention to this, is what you gave them is the friggin' holy grail of bodybuilding and of life, is that if your goal is to just be better every day, ultimately, and this applies in the workplace as well, which you described, when you are better every day, ultimately, that's going to be recognized. Whether it's, but if you're waiting for it to be extrinsically recognized, prepare yourself for disappointment. It'll happen, but that intrinsic value, that is yours to control. That is yours to cherish. That is yours to celebrate. Yeah,
absolutely. And what's interesting too is, I was just thinking of this as you were talking, is every single competition I've gone to over the last 7 years, whether or not I placed, I still learned something valuable, or something really awesome happened from that experience. Or, I've gone to that year in Pittsburgh, 2019, I got my first suit sponsorship. And I was like, who would have thought this could happen? And then that happened again this past season. Or you meet somebody new who really just, I met Maya, and she's now my best friend. So it's really, I think each experience you can really find the silver lining, whether or not that's tied to a placing or not. And also you get to explore really fun places if you are, like to explore new areas or cities and stuff like that.
That's what
for people who like to travel, it's fun. I also think the biggest thing for me, and something that's always resonated that you have said, is we judge the success of the weekend by not who placed the best, but by how the person who didn't place feels their experience was, or something like that.
That's it.
And every time I get to spend a weekend with the team and with you two, this word that I said at the beginning, belonging, I have never felt so accepted and loved and like I belong somewhere, other than with this team.
You want to make us cry?
I'm going to cry.
Okay.
Other than with this team. And so to get to just travel and be around people who really I care about and they care about me the same way in return, that whole experience means more to me than anything. And I'm always the person, after a show who's like, who wants to, not because I'm focused on the after the show meal, but because I want to spend time with the people that I'm there with. And I want to squeeze every last second I can out with them. And you guys are always just so uplifting and inspiring every time I get to spend time with you. So I feel super blessed, anytime I'm at a national show and I get to spend the weekend with you two or anybody else. So having that experience alone and tying kind of the success of the weekend to that is also really helpful. Like I just have a lot of fun doing it, and it's not just about the placing then either.
I love that.
That's
I
amazing.
love that. I don't even know. We're not really at time yet, but I kind of feel like we should end.
Drop the mic.
Yeah.
No, I
Yeah.
resonate so much. I can't tell you how many times I've said, like, any of the awards or the trophies or the medals or any of that stuff along the way just that pales in comparison to the relationships. And like, now you're going to make me all emotional. Oh my God.
Oh, you're already there.
I know. Truly, because, that's something so special about what we do is like getting to connect with like-minded people that are, we're always constantly working on ourselves.
Yeah.
And it just helps to lift us all up. And so I'm super grateful to get to spend time with you. And, I feel like, every time we have an opportunity to interact like that, hearing your perspective on things, that's why we're so happy to be able to have you on here today to share this with everybody. Because it is truly, it's just so special. It's truly special. So I really appreciate so much that you said that and shared that. And hopefully people will think about how they can apply this in their own life, whether it be with teammates, whether it could be with other competitors that are there. Like, I know a lot of times when people first start competing, they think about, like, they feel like they need to be kind of in their own space and isolating themselves. And I mean, sometimes you do need to kind of create your little bubble, but they can also think about like how to branch out and create relationships and create experiences over and beyond just the stage, which is what you're talking about that you've done.
Yeah.
And, it makes the whole thing so much better, so much more powerful in your life.
Yeah. And I've said this a few times where, I've wondered, because of my approach to it with maybe not making it such a tunnel vision thing and focused and like not doing anything or going to bachelorette parties or traveling or doing the things that I want to that fill my life with a lot of joy. Like, maybe if I hadn't done all that the last 7 years, I might have my pro card. And I think to myself, but I wouldn't want it that way because I've lived so much life in the last 7 years. And if I get to continue doing that, it might take me a little bit longer because maybe it's not my whole life, but I'm willing to take that gamble just because there's so much joy when you get to live and experience and love and be involved in relationships and friendships and the big life things for other people and show up for other people so that they show up for you. And it's also important. And so I've wondered that, and I've, come to the conclusion, like, nope, I wouldn't want it any other way. Even if that did mean that I would have my pro card, that means less to me than, having all these other things.
I'm going to give people a takeaway and a challenge from this because you inspired this. I'm going back to what you talk about with Jesse that had you prepare like a positives and negatives after the show, right?
Yeah.
Pros and cons. And it makes me think that there's opportunity if you're listening to this or watching this and you're looking for a takeaway. Okay, what do I do with that? How do I apply it?
Yeah.
I'm going to propose this challenge, Nicole, but I want you to. We're going to brainstorm this and kind of workshop it at real time here.
Okay.
So the thought that I had is for people to prepare just write down, because we are both believers in all three of us. So all three of us are believers that writing it down has more power than just thinking it. And if you are, I know some people say, well, I can't read my own handwriting. Get over it. You can. That's a lazy excuse. But if you have to type it, that's fine. The exercise that I think I want people to do as they're listening to this is to write down what success looks like in whatever whatever event it is, whether it's a bodybuilding show, whether it's a promotion or work, whether it's a presentation that they're giving. Write down, what does success look like for you? So at the end of this, if you're writing the headline, what does that headline say and what is the story? So what does success look like? And I don't know if you have a spin or a variation on that, but...
No, I love that question because it's a question I use to redirect anyone when it comes to anything specific. So people will say, well, I just want, so like a client, I just want him to support me. And I say, well, have you defined what support looks like to you?
Yeah.
Because he might not know what that looks like and you might not know what that looks like. And so reframing it around like, you can think you want these things until you really define what it means to you. And so I love that homework assignment.
And I think, it's very easy to say, like for a contest, well, success looks like winning. Okay, go deeper.
Yeah.
Okay. So what, and I love what you said is, hey, success looks like I made connections.
Yeah.
Hey, success looks like I learned something. Success looks like I got good feedback. Success looks like I put a better package on stage than I did the previous show. I mean,
Success looks like I've been able to balance other aspects of my life that were important to me.
Yeah.
Like
there's so many things that can describe success. And if you're just hitting on that surface element of, look, we all want to win. Man, we all want to win.
Yeah.
That's the easy answer. And I don't mean to say don't put it down there.
Right.
But I mean go deeper and say what else would be success to you? How else? And I always think of that Emerson poem that we got at Rapport, right?
Yeah.
And and I always, that one piece of enduring the betrayal of false friends, whether improve a social condition, a garden patch, but really knowing that one life has breathed easier because you have lived. Whew.
I'm going to cry.
Okay. But I mean, that is, when I think of that, I think how, and you do that, Nicole. So let me be very clear, is that we breathe easier because you have lived. Wow.
Cry.
We're all
crying.
This is the emotion. This is the crying episode. The crying episode. Okay. All right.
I've loved this talk so much, and I appreciate
too.
you being so open and vulnerable and sharing so much. And I do think it's going to resonate a lot with others as it has with us today.
Yeah, it's been a huge part of making me who I am today. So I love sharing and talking about it. So thank you for the conversation.
You are such a gift. So tell people how they can get to that gift.
Yeah, so you can find me. I have an open roster on Fitbody Fusion's website, so we can do a consult call and figure out if we're a good fit to work together and be your coach. And then I also have an Instagram, and it's Colicole, COLIEYCOLE.
Awesome. And now your checkout word?
Fulfilled.
Oh, God, I love that word. You just pulled that right out of my soul. So I love that. That's because I feel that way too. My cup is filled.
Yes.
So should we give the sign off? Like, comment, subscribe, leave a review.
Oh,
right, I got it right that time.
Ding, 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 ding.
And be good to yourself.
Be good to each other.
And be safe. Take care, everybody.
Thank you for tuning in to Fitbody Lifestyle. We hope today's episode has left you feeling motivated and equipped to tackle your fitness goals, business challenges, and the daily dance of life. Remember to value progress over perfection. Life's tough enough alone. Find the chosen family around you to help you along the way.
If you enjoyed today's episode, we'd really appreciate it if you would subscribe and leave us a review on your favorite streaming platform. And don't forget to follow us on Instagram at Fitbody Fusion.